Okay, so before I go into like what a release run book looks like, I want to go to our playbooks. For those of you who have investigated release ops, you know that the expression of our process to assess inside of a DR, remember a little train car, right, is done via a playbook called a deployment request assessment. Okay, and this is where you as the customer would express your process. I'll go through like the out of the box one that goes across 3 instances, and you can see it, once the deployment request is marked as ready to assess, it makes it state assessing. Then it runs instant scan. At this point, we're still on dev. It checks the instant scan results. It deals with failures, usually by creating a deployment request task. Okay. Then it's going to move the stuff to test. So it's going to, again, if in case the DR was in assessing, it's going to set it back. If the case of DR was in reconciliation, it's going to set it back to assessing. We're going to ignore these pause points for now, but it's going to do integrate the deployment. So that's going to move all your update sets to the test instance. Then it's going to run ATF. It's going to find out what happened, whether or not it needs to have reconciliation tasks. And then it's going to move it to ready for deployment. Okay, so that's an example of an assessing workflow that our train cars go to make sure that we have all our quality control in check. So what we've heard from customers is like, but after I move all my update sets, I want to run fix scripts, and then I want to do data loads, and then after everything is said and done, maybe I want to get the UAT team to give some kind of final sign off. Or maybe I want to ensure that the instructions are on SharePoint or any number of things. And so we had to facilitate this because we don't know if it's the same tasks every time. If it was always the same tasks every single time, or if we could predict programmatically which would need run scripts and which would need data loads, we would just make a bigger, better playbook. But since we can't determine programmatically if those when those things should appear, what we do is we've built these pause points. Okay, and these pause points will act as a stopper for any tasks that have been created on the deployment request attached to this activity, and we'll show how they get attached to that activity. So you can have one or many tasks that are required before this deployment request allows to go to moving the update sets. And then after I move the update sets, you might have another set of tasks that may or may not exist that will pause until they are all done. Likewise, at the end of this playbook, before we say this whole thing is ready to deploy, again, we might have some kind of final manual approval or a final meeting of the minds or some third-party audit or something. We don't care, right? Just that it must pause until it is done. Okay, so this is just an example of how we built it out in a sample playbook. In your organizations, as you articulate your process in this playbook, you would define where you need those pause considerations for the things you already do manually today.